Thank you for tuning in again tonight. The hot topic in the news this week. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Welcome to Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I have another exciting show planned for you tonight. We're going to talk about a mother who is very upset about a harsh sentence that her son received when charged with his first offense, an aggravated robbery. We'll go into the facts of it, and I want to get your opinion. You know, my show is here for us to tell our stories, for us to comment and participate in the criminal justice system in Harris County. I have in the studio my co-host, Mr. Ray Hill. He is a prison activist and an ex-con. He will give us some real-world experience about the prison system, his experience in the system, and his current work that he does right now in the prison system that's so helpful to so many people in our community. I also have Ms. Chandra Iglehart Willis. She wants to tell you the story of her 18-year-old son, who was a star football player. He'd recently graduated from high school, and 2 weeks later, playing around with his friends, playing basketball, listening to some bad advice from a little street guy, he ends up doing 18 years. He ends up getting in trouble, his mom making bond, him getting several chances, and he's in prison now. And he lost his football scholarship, and his whole life has been changed by a mistake that he made as an 18-year-old. So we're going to get straight into the story. We're going to do what our normal format allows and allow her to tell her story for about 10 or 15 minutes. Give us about 15 minutes to tell the story, and then we want to get your opinion. So thank you so much, Ms. Willis, for agreeing to tell your son's story, and we hope through this story some young person does not make the mistake that her son, little Ed, made. Some mother will not have to go through the hell and the agony that she is still going through today. So, Chandra, tell us your son's story.
Yes, thank you, Vivian, for having me. My son was 18 years old. I have two boys, Edward and Terrence. Speaking of Edward, we call him Little Ed. He was 18 years old. He just graduated 2 weeks prior. And he got with a group of guys. It was actually 5 of the guys. He got with a group of guys. He was a passenger. They went and played basketball, first of all. Let me start there. They played basketball at a church, as they always do. One of the guys, after they finished playing, one of the guys asked, say, guys, you want to go make some quick money? And yes, my son said yes. And they were gambling, of course, in the house and, you know, just doing little things that I guess young men do that shouldn't. However, he just wanted to make some quick money, and of course Ed was on for it. He said, yeah. He said, I'm going to tell y'all what to do. He said, but I can't do it because I have a rap sheet, and I've done this before, so I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to tell you guys what to do. Just listen to what I say, and you guys are going to have some money. So, okay, everybody was in for it. Ed was in the back seat behind the driver. The mastermind, Terrence Sweeney, a.k.a. Pooh Bear, was in the center, and then there was Herman Mitchell on the passenger back seat. Then we had it was a total of 5 guys, the driver who never got out, and then we have a front seat passenger. So they said, okay, what are we going to do? So he said, man, just drive. And they drove. They were on 1860, and they went down to Jones Road into a subdivision. They saw a bug, beetle, and there was a lady in there. So the guy in the back said, follow that bug. We're going to get that. That's going to be our money right there. So they followed the bug. The young lady drove into her driveway. My son, the passenger in the back seat, the opposite, not the middle guy, but the one behind the passenger,
Herman.
And the passenger, yes, Herman Mitchell, my son, Edward Iglehart, and I can't think of the guy in the front seat's name right now. However, those 3 got out. my son was the one that actually toted the gun. I guess, you know, he's been a baby all his life, and he wanted to show these guys, you know, I've graduated now, I'm not under my mom's wing, and I can do me now. So he did it, and he went to the lady. She got out the car. They parked a little way from her driveway. They walked up to the car, to her driveway, as she was getting out, and told her, one of the guys grabbed her and told her to get on her knees. My son held the gun, and the guy asked him, Herman asked, give us your money, give us your money. And my son was probably saying the same thing, give us your money, man, we're gonna hurt you, just give us your money. And the lady said, I don't have any money. One of the guys, I don't know if it was Herman Mitchell or the other guy, it wasn't my son because he had both of his hands on the gun, so it wasn't him. But one of the guys groped her and, you know, was pushing her, trying, you know, give us some money. So finally, Ed said, man, y'all, let's go, damn, let's go. So they all ran, got in the car. The driver drove through the neighborhood, got lost, got out, was going down 1960, and all of a sudden they see police lights. They pull over. The police pull them out one by one, searches the car, finds the gun. My son is sitting on behind the driver, back passenger seat, so he slides the gun right in front of him underneath the seat. So they got out, the police searched the car, yes, they found the gun. They pulled all of them up, got their IDs, pulled them all up, and they was like, wow, all you guys are clean. Oh, wow, bingo, Herman Mitchell, you seem like you've done this before. So I guess it was you guys. So in the meantime, some other officers are bringing the lady, the witness, whom
the complaining witness.
The complaint, yes. And they parked a little far distance away, and however, she identified my son and Herman Mitchell. So,
and those were the two backseat passengers, but not the mastermind, because he was in the middle.
That's
and
correct.
He never got out.
That's correct.
And that's the Terrence Sweeney.
That's correct. Okay.
So she identified two of the three guys that got out of the car.
Yes.
Okay.
So she identified those two. Those two went to jail. The other three got in the car and went on.
Now talk about this. How did you discover that your son went to jail?
His cell phone was left in the car, and as they drove off, my husband woke up. However, they drove off, and I'm in the bed asleep. I'm at home. My husband woke up. He has to be to work for 5. He woke up at 4:30, 4 o'clock. 4:30, he goes upstairs, and he don't see Ed. So he comes back downstairs. He looks out the window. He don't see Ed's car. So he comes into the bedroom, and he says, baby, Ed's not at home. So I'm like, no. So I jump up, and I go look in the room. He's not there. Look outside. His car is not there. So I call his cell phone repeatedly, 5 times. The 5th time, someone answers, but they hang up on me. So now I'm like really nervous. So I call my oldest son, which his name is Terrence. I said, Terrence, have you heard from Ed? Is he spending the night over there? No, Mom, I haven't heard from him. I said, Terry, I've been calling his number. He's not at home. Somebody answered on the 5th ring and hung up. I said, help me find Ed. I can't sleep. Terrence did some investigation. He called the number. They answered for Terrence. It was the Terrence Sweeney. Answered the phone and told my son, Ed is in jail. I know your mom's been calling me, but I didn't know what to tell her, but he's in jail. So my son said, what did he do? So he explained to him and told him what had happened, what had transpired. Then my son, he didn't tell me on the phone. He came over there and got me. And he got me and brought me back to his house. And I was just hysterical. I was hysterical. I was just totally out of it. I couldn't even think straight. However, he brought me back to his house. And bond hadn't been set yet, so we called a bail. I have a personal friend that's a bail bondsman. We called her and we told her what was going on. She looked it up. She said, just relax. As soon as they set a bond, I'll call you. This was all night long up until about 1 o'clock the next day. We finally got a bond. We got $30,000. We got on, we bond him out. He gets out. And we're talking to him, we asking him, you know, we drill him just like we were sitting at a table. We like all just drilling him like, what the hell? I mean, what was going on? What was going on in your mind? What are you thinking about? You have your whole life. I pay you everything, and you don't need money. He said, I did it because I wanted to get my car fixed because his car had a little bump on it. I did it, Mom, because I wanted extra money to get my car fixed. I'm like, are you serious? Really, dude? So we hired an attorney.
Tell me, let's stop there. Tell me how that made you feel. He's graduated from high school. He has a scholarship to play football. Mm-hmm. He's with all his football playing friends from high school. You pay his bills. You live in a nice house. He lives with his stepfather that's a good provider.
Wonderful.
You're an airline stewardess. You had previously worked for the Texas Department of Corrections. You've been a TDC guard. What are you thinking when you find that out?
I don't believe it. It's just like, where's my child?
Had you ever told him, make sure you don't rob or steal or get in trouble?
Are you serious? My son used to go to the prison with me, And he used to get his hair cut, his shoes shine. He was a little boy. And I would tell him, these guys have to tell, they tell these guys when to go to sleep, when to wake up. They can't go to the refrigerator. These guys has to be told everything. Man, you can't ever. And he promised, this is one thing he promised me. Mama, because we used to ride, I used to show him, I'm from Fifth Ward, so we used to ride back and forth, and I would show him people on the street and what drugs has done to them, and he said, Mama, I never want to be like that, never, ever. And this was my model child. This child never had a stop ticket. This child never been in trouble in school. This child never talked back to me. This was just like, where is my son? Who are you? You know?
So let's stop there. So the standard bond for someone who's never been in trouble before that gets a first-degree felony aggravated robbery is $30,000. Everybody gets the same bond. So like a good little mama, you run and make his bond. Now he's living with you and a stepfather, but what does his biological father think about this? You've divorced from his biological father.
Which I think that affected him.
No, and let's not talk about that effect right now, but did the father think...
He was
Let me ask the question.
shock.
Hold on.
He was in shock as well.
Let me ask the question. Did his biological father say, don't bond him out, let him stay there?
Not the first time, no.
Not the first time, okay.
No.
So he was in support of you bonding him out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. He was in he was in support all the way on this first go-round.
So why did you think you should bond him out when he violated your parental instruction of not getting in trouble?
Because I think everybody makes a mistake one time. I think everybody does something wrong. Everybody don't get caught. And that is my baby. I mean, I'm a mom. That's my baby.
No problem, no issues. Now, Ray, what do you think about that? Now, when a kid goes to that point, what do you think?
You take a great family and somebody gets into trouble. Nobody knows what to do, Vivian. Absolutely nobody. I mean, he's in jail. We got to get him out. It's the first thing you think of. And then you go get to meet these nice folks that are called bail bondsmen, even if they're our friends. And they have a way of figuring out just how much resources you put your hands on. You get them out, and then the judge is not going to appoint them a lawyer because they are out. You want to get them out because of the fears you have about their safety and what's going to happen to them in institutions, and there's all kind of craziness there. So she's doing what every mother in the world would do. You get them out, and then how do you tell the difference between a lawyer in a clown suit and a clown in a lawyer suit? Nobody knows how to do that. As a matter of fact, that's what I was going to do with the prison show when I started. I just never got the audience for that. So what I got was the families of inmates and the inmates, so I figured out how to do radio for that audience. But nobody knows what to do. You're driven by panic, you're driven by fear, you're driven by your love for whoever's locked up, and you feel guilty about having a nice, comfortable bed to sleep in, and getting up and having breakfast that you want to eat. There's a whole cacophony of emotions going through people, and that breeds a high propensity of making every damn fool mistake
there is to make, which is what she did.
Which is exactly what she did.
Which is exactly what she did. So Chandra, come on.
I love her to death. I don't know if there's any way she could have avoided doing that.
I don't think so either.
But she is that mother, and I have one too. I had one. She died in my arms, but she never stopped saying my son in all capital letters, just like this lady does.
Just like Chandra's doing right now. So Chandra, your next step, you found your baby out. Your next step is to find him a lawyer. What do you do to find a lawyer? What technique?
No research. No research at all. I went totally upon my son's recommendation from Pooh Bear, which is Terrence Sweeney, the guy who had initially done this before. He recommended the same attorney that he used because, man, I got off. He good. He's really good. Mom, use him. He's good. He got him off. Okay. All right. Give me his name and number. Let me call him. I called him and we use him. Yeah. And then his name is James Reed. James Reed.
Tell me what you think went wrong with hiring James Reed.
What went wrong is because I, as a mom, feel like a failure because I didn't do no research. I didn't do any homework.
Well, you're not a failure, but tell us why you think you're not a failure.
Yeah, I want to move in and correct that.
I tell any mom that has to go through this now, don't just go and pick an attorney. You just don't, okay, I saw their name on TV. No.
Don't take Pooh Bear's advice. Because,
no, don't take Pooh Bear's advice.
Because Pooh Bear had already proven that he wasn't given good advice.
Absolutely.
Right. And the fact that he had been Pooh Bear's lawyer, and Pooh Bear was a potential witness in this case, there's an enormous, am I wrong, Vivian?
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, bigger in Dallas.
Bigger in Dallas. And actually, James Reed or the lawyer should have discussed that with you.
Absolutely.
If he was the same boy's lawyer who's in trouble and is a witness against your son,
For or against,
either way, what it requires under the legal code of ethics is, if that's going to happen, both your son, you, and Pooh Bear need to all sign off that they understand that there could be a conflict of interest, and we waive that conflict of interest. That's really what should happen.
Yeah.
And most people, if they're told about a conflict of interest, won't waive it.
I'm not going to waive it. I don't want you. You know, I'm glad
But
you
you
told
kept
me.
him, and he
But I
had you
never knew that. I was ignorant to that. I
right?
didn't know.
Sure.
Right, and that's why we're having shows like this, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, hope them folks on the other side of this camera get it.
But while we're on, I'm sorry, while we're on that subject, because I appealed it and you know,
We're not going to go there yet. Let's not go there. We haven't appealed it yet.
Okay.
Let's take us.
But I have appealed it yet. Okay.
Yeah, well, let's go through the steps, though. We're not there at the show.
Okay.
So you hire a lawyer. You spend a lot of money to hire a lawyer that a co-defendant has recommended because he's his lawyer. And then now your lawyer asks you to hire a private investigator. Not unusual in an aggravated robbery. You want to try to talk to the complainant. Tell me what went wrong with the hiring of the private investigator in your mind.
In my mind, what went wrong with the hiring of that particular investigator is, first of all, I didn't get to meet him. I spent my money. I didn't get to meet him. My husband and I was sitting out, my ex-husband and I was sitting out in the lobby of the attorney office when the PI came in, private investigator came in and sat on. He introduced himself to the receptionist. I'm then a private investigator. So when he sat on, I was like, I wonder if that's the one who's investigating. I said, excuse me, are you the private investigator on Edward Iglehart's case? I'm not allowed to speak to you, ma'am.
And so what were you thinking?
I'm thinking, well, that's my money.
Are you thinking, yeah, I'm paying you and you can't talk to me?
Yeah. So they called him in. We were there before him, but however, they called him in so the attorney could speak with him behind closed doors. And then he left right out the door. About 15, 20 minutes later, he left out the door. Okay, Ms. Iglehart, Mr. Iglehart, Ms. Willis, you guys can come in. So we go in, and he says, well, the private investigator just left, and he talked to the lady, and the lady said she can definitely identify your son. She definitely know that was your son. So now I'm at the point where I need to, he got to spend a little extra money because he needed to do the PSI. I never knew what a PSI was.
Did you ask him what it was?
No, I didn't.
Let's stop there. All right, so Ray, let me talk to you. So she's hired a private investigator through her lawyer. He won't let her meet with the private investigator. Tell me what you think could have happened different in this.
I would no private investigator on any of my cases. Of course, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
Would work that we had private investigator for my cases because we needed to know what the witnesses were going to say in my case. I had 3 trials and I won the first 2 and lost the third one. My attorney at that time was John Hughes, incidentally.
Okay, yeah, John Hughes is a very good friend of mine, and he's actually still alive.
Yeah, barely, but
yeah,
he's still alive. John was a high-rolling good lawyer in those days, and so I hired a lawyer with a reputation. But we used private investigator in my case, but I never had any trouble communicating with my private investigator.
But don't you think there's something wrong when
there's a lot
the mother
wrong.
can't talk to
There's
the private
a lot
investigator?
wrong. That is beyond ethical behavior as far as I'm concerned.
And when I hire a private investigator, not only do I allow my client, I have my private investigator interview the mother, the person who pays me, because I want to know.
They get a more objective view than you have.
Right.
And what you are as an attorney, you want all the information so that you can reach in that tool chest and pull out the screwdriver or the pliers you need to do the job. And the more open that relationship is, the more likely you are to have, because at their conversation with her can find something that you might have missed.
Exactly, and I want my investigator to do a social background of my child. See, I deal with this whole child, not just what they did that day, but how they were raised, because that whole environment and support system will let me know what type of punishment, if we get there, what type of punishment to fashion. And let me tell you how far I go.
How did you a PSI?
Yeah.
Without having all of that information.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Because you have a role in what's in that PSI.
Exactly.
That's not just the state's tool. That is your tool as well.
If not more. So first of all, your investigator needs to find out if he did it. Can the state prove it? That's what you go talk to the complainant about. And should talk to all the witnesses, including the other 3 boys in the car who didn't get charged. He should be talking to those people. Yeah. And after that, if the investigator is confident that the state can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, because the woman is sure it's him, by a description. Then you ask the woman, I have my investigators ask them, how do you feel this child should be punished? I actually call my complainants myself and see if they'll talk to me. But if they're street people or people that are hard to catch up with, that's when I send an investigator. Sure. But I actually call them myself because I want to find out, look, ma'am, you know, I'm just a lawyer trying to do my job. If I was representing your son, I'd do the same thing. So please hear me out. I want to do what's fair and right. How did you feel? This child comes from this background, this type of support. This is what he was thinking that day. It's isolated. He's got a football scholarship. I try to tell him everything good about him, but if he scared you to death, I understand because I'm a citizen. Tell me, knowing this about him, what do you think his punishment should be? And they'll usually be real honest with me. I've had people tell me, complainants tell me in bad aggravated robberies, well, if this was his first one, I think he should have a second chance. I've had complainants tell me that. I think he should have probation. Do you mind if I tell that to the DA? Do you mind if they call you saying the same thing to them? And you can tell them that I told you everything about this young man, that it was isolated, he's on his way to the military, or he's on his way to college, or if you're really scared to death and you think it'll help society if he does 5 years, but they're offering him 20 years. Do you think that's too much? Do you think, and I actually talk to my complainants about it and see if we can kind of reach a happy medium to negotiate it. Well, and if they won't talk to me, I even write them a letter. I write them letters to say the same thing, so I know that I've done everything that I can do. I'm very critical of the system for a lot of reasons, and one of the reasons is exactly what we're here for. Young men who get enormous amounts of time. It's absolutely doesn't help society, doesn't reduce crime. The longer people are in prison, the more bitter they get, the more she's going to have to deal with when he gets out. He's going to be more afraid to get out than he was to go in, as I was after a mere 4 years, 4 months, and 17 days. But the inhumanity, it's a polarized system, an adversary system, but the lawyers that are going to argue it out and duke it out in that courtroom are going to go to the club afterwards and be friends. But to those of us who experience it as defendants and as family of defendants or as complaining witnesses, think there's a war going on. And they don't understand the camaraderie of the people in the profession. From our perspective, you're trying to kill my son or do something horrible to my son. You're not understanding the pain that I feel as a victim. The humanity has been squeezed out of this. Totally squeezed out of the system. It's not out of the people. It's out of the process. Because you know the judge and the prosecutor, and y'all were able to get out of the atmosphere where you're a strong advocate and the state is a strong advocate and the judge is trying to keep y'all from tangled up. At the end of the day, you're all friends. You can talk about politics. We're professionals. Right, you're professionals. And I don't think that those in her position or in my position perceive that unless they spend a lot more time in courthouse as I have. I agree with you on that. And then once we investigate a case, you know, hopefully I can get some good news. I think in a case like your son's, I could have, because when her son was given the 18 years, the victim was even shocked. So that means no one, even though the investigator talked to her, she didn't talk to her about who Ed was. And that was a mistake. The investigator should have absolutely talked to you, known who he was, talked to his stepfather, seen what environment he grew up in, talked to his real father. That's the type of investigation I do. It's not just of, did he do it? But, yeah, he did it. What can we do about it? What is the best solution? Sometimes investigators are lazy, too, if they can get the bucks and not have to do the work. Right. So it's up to the attorney to demand that level of work. And I still am confused by the absence of communication between her and somebody she was paying. Certainly, especially when they're all there. It's hard to get your investigator to come to your office. So if the investigator's there and you're there, there should have been no reason why the three of y'all couldn't have sat around in a round table. So you could at least ask the investigator, did you talk to her? Did she seem nice? Did she seem like she might be open-minded? Because if I have those kind of meetings, I will even call the complainant again if they're open-minded. We have a little break because we have someone that called in. So let's take a call. Caller, thank you for calling Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Do you have a comment?
Hello, Miss Vivian King.
Hello.
You're your biggest fan.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I just want to ask how you doing, Shonda and Mr. Hill?
Hi, how are you?
I I want to ask Chandra, what do you think would have been a fair sentence, and what were your expectations, and what do you think would have been equitable, for the crime?
Glad you asked. What do I think? If I had to sentence somebody for something like that, I would no more than 5 years, tops, probation.
5 years in prison or 5 years probation?
5 years in prison. I mean, I'm a mom, so what if someone had did that to me? I would say 5 years in prison, at the most.
But not 18 years.
Not 18, nowhere near 18.
He
5
was
years.
18 years old when this happened.
And
Yes.
the judge asked, how old are you? And he said 18. 18 years. Sentence you to 18 years. Just like that.
You have another?
Right now, how's your son doing?
How's your son doing?
I'm sorry, he's blessed. He's hanging in there. He don't get in any trouble. When I walk through the door, they ask me, what relations are you to him? And I tell them I'm his mother. They're like, God, he is such a good guy. He don't talk back to us. He stays to himself. But that's who he is. And they thought that he was very unemotional, because that's just, he don't show emotions. He's just real, kind of stoic and quiet and to himself. So they assumed that he was not remorseful for what he did. But he's doing good. Thanks for asking.
And he's been in jail for how long?
He's been there going on 5 years now.
He has to stay 9.5 years before he's eligible for parole.
Yeah, it's aggravated.
Okay. My prayers go out to you, and I hope the best for you and your son. And thanks, Vivian King, for the show, and thanks, Chandra, for coming on and telling your story.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Tracy. Thank you for watching. Let's talk now. Now, when your lawyer decides he's guilty, based on his investigation, what was the plea bargain offer?
He told us he never, ever mentioned anything about 18 years. All he told us is, I can pretty much guarantee you, if you guys follow my instructions and do exactly what I tell you, he can get community service and probation. Worst case scenario, 2 years.
Okay. Now, let me tell you what, off the cuff as a lawyer, is a problem for me on that. Aggravated robbery is a first-degree felony, and the range of punishment is 5 to 99 years. So you can't get 2 years. Okay, that's the first thing. It was in the 180th District Court. That was Debbie Mantooth Stricklin. I never knew of her to ever give anybody probation. Okay, never. And she won in November of 1994. I was a prosecutor with her. She was a fine lady, a smart woman. But as a lawyer, you have to be honest about what judges give.
That's right.
And honestly, I would have told my client that she's not going to give him probation. But the range of punishment is 5 to 99. She can give any number, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but so can a jury. And I would actually have taken that on with the jury. But the DA's general plea bargain offer on a first aggravated robbery is 15 years. Let's take another call. Caller, please turn your volume down and talk in the phone. You're on.
Yes, I am the stepfather of Ed Iglehart, calling in to chime in on the show. I just didn't feel that I'm, as a father, my son never being in trouble, and I felt the same way. I didn't feel that 18 years was justifiable, but I figured it would be something like 10 years with a possible parole, and never in my wildest dreams would I have thought it would have been 18 years. I just thought that was real harsh. With all the character witness he had, and knowing his background, it was stunning. It was a shock for everybody.
God bless you. I'm so sorry that it happened that way. I have seen young men get deferred adjudication under one administration of judges. Another administration comes in, the kid violates probation, and a judge sentences them to life.
Yeah.
That used to happen all the time. Remember that?
If you get deferred adjudication, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. So
better take a straight probation than deferred, because at least you're dealing with a fixed sentence.
And now, don't get me wrong, sir. I'm not trying to say anything against you. I think the sentence was too harsh, too, based on the facts that have been presented to me. And I know I don't know all the facts, and I know I'm only getting it from one side, So, and keep that in mind. But I do agree it was too harsh. But so I'm just telling you, there are much worse atrocities out there, even though I know this is the worst that you'll ever experience.
Almost definitely. Yeah, it's just something that any parent don't want to ever have to witness. I mean, go through. Once again, my advice to any parent that may be even possibly dealing with something like this: do your background check on your lawyers. This guy James Reed, I see this guy every other week. His son plays in the league that I play in, that I referee in, and this guy can't even look me in the face. He sees me, he'll walk, turn around, and go the other way. And it's just like, man, I have no animosity towards you. I just know I wasn't represented to the fullest. That I feel like I wasn't represented to the fullest with the money we paid him.
You don't feel like he was honest with you, because the thing is, what I do with all people is I'm honest with them. You might not like my advice, but I'm going to be honest with you.
I may say something you don't want to hear.
I might say something you don't want to hear, because the system is not a nice system. So, and DAs don't offer probation. It's a policy against it. So if your child is guilty after an investigation and we don't feel we can win in a trial, you have one or two choices. Either you plead guilty and get punished by this judge or by a jury. That's the only two choices you have. In that court, I always went to juries. Yeah. Always. I would never have trusted the judge, because I knew it's never going to be what I want. And so at least let society, somebody on that jury out of 12 might could relate to a brother going to prison, how it messed them up, how good this guy is, if the community supported him. Because 10 years deferred adjudication or just straight probation, like you said, a jury would have had to get a straight probation. Yeah. He's locked in. If he messes up, he can do no more than 10 years. And you have a watch on him from 18 to 28 years old.
We would ask, could he go to the service?
Well, they're not going to do that. If you plead guilty, you can't go to the service, so that's not a legal option. Okay?
My final question in closing: how, if you can give anybody advice, would you, Vivian, if this was your case, would you have went to trial? Got a jury to
yes.
Would you have recommended
absolutely.
a jury versus going through?
Absolutely. I would have absolutely. I just said that. In that court, the 180th District Court, I would have never trusted the judge. But I would have never told you that he's going to get probation, because I would have told you this judge has never given anybody probation that I know of for aggravated robbery, and I've known her since she took the bench. I would have told you the truth. And if a lawyer, you know, we did have a motion for new trial because y'all said it was ineffective assistance of counsel, that the lawyer lied to you and promised you probation, which is illegal to do and it's unethical to do, and he denied it. I mean, he swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and he said in open court that he never told you that he was going to get probation.
Well, if you've got a case and you've got a lawyer that the prosecutor knows cannot try a jury trial, you're not in a good bargaining position.
Right.
The only bargaining...
But you don't know that because you hired him, you trust him. But the DAs know who brings the heat and who doesn't. They know who fights and who doesn't. Right.
And so if you're going to hire a lawyer, all of you people out there, if this tragic thing happens in your family, you're going to hire a lawyer. And you ask the lawyer, what do you do? And the lawyer says, well, I represent clients. That ain't good enough. You ask the lawyer and get the answer, I try cases. That's the answer you want. Because if that lawyer can't try a case, they're not a good advocate to negotiate on your behalf.
Right, because they know that in the end, once the DAs know that once the lawyer is completely paid, because most people don't have a lot of money sitting around, so it's going to be some type of payment plan, then we know that there's going to, they know that it's going to be a plea of some sort. Yeah. And it's never good. But like I said, y'all were told about a PSI. You don't even know what that is. It's a pre-sentence investigation where that's why your investigator is supposed to be getting a whole social investigation of your kid. I subpoena, I get all of their awards they won in school. I get classmates. I subpoena their school records to show they never had an infraction. I mean, I spend some time and money and work to put a packet together that shows this person like an altar boy. And I make my client allocute, which they use in federal court, say what you did and why you did it wrong this day. If you're going to come down, be humble, and explain what your mindset was, why you did it, and why society can trust you to never do this again. Yep. That's what I do.
In closing, I just think what you're doing, you enlighten a lot of people. You and Mr. Hill, keep doing what you're doing, and anybody that's watching this, I think you're giving some good advice, and people will kind of know what to deal with when they're in a situation like this. And in closing, thanks a bunch for both of you guys.
Thank you, sir.
One of the reasons why, and you hear me say that if you watch, I started this show, is because I got so many moms like Chandra to call me. They call me and they say, I had this lawyer, he told me this, my son's doing 18 years, what can you do about it? I mean, you just don't understand. I've been in private practice 17 years. I was a prosecutor for 3. So I've been a lawyer 20 years, and I promise you, I probably talk to 5 mothers or grandmothers a week with bad advice.
Because I called you after the fact.
You called me after the fact. And you are the reason why, people like you, I started this show. And I asked the same questions we're talking about. How many lawyers did you talk to? What was his track record for going to trial?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And the stress you were under. Well, she described it to us.
Right.
She talked about that cell phone and who answered it and who didn't answer it. I mean, I could feel what she was going through.
And she's crying in here. Now, y'all can't see that, but she's been crying about it ever since we've been here.
Every mother that I talk to goes through that kind of, and I heard it in his voice.
Right.
Every father and stepfather that I talk to go through this crisis, and they're so helpless, and it is so scary. I fully understand. And the 18 years, Texas especially, you can include Louisiana because actually they lock up a higher percentage of citizens in Louisiana than they do in Texas. But seeing as how they're from Louisiana, they may deserve that. But Texas
it's a joke.
Texas has this addiction to giving out long, hard time to young men.
Let's take a call. Caller, thank you for calling Truth and Justice. What is your comment? Hello?
Hi, Vivian. This is Gwen.
Hey, Gwen. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. What's your comment? She's calling us from Missouri City, so that means she has to either be looking at it online or what? Are you online, Gwen?
I am online.
Okay.
And I want to say that I thank you. Yes, this has been a very informative conversation. And I have a question because I know someone right now that's kind of going through something similar. There was no gun involved, but right now they're in Brazoria County locked up because they were in a store. It was 3 of them. One of the people in the group took some blouses out of the store, smash and grab or whatever, took some blouses out of the store, and one of the participants pushed the clerk. She fell to the ground, but the 2 other people took off running, and the 2 people that ran didn't have anything in their possession, nor did they touch the person, and they're under a $50,000 bond.
Wow.
Yeah, welcome to Brazoria County.
Yeah, Brazoria County is worse than Harris County when it comes to bonds. At least we do have a bond schedule. So you know everybody with the same or similar offense and background is going to have the same bond.
What you're talking about here is the law of parties. And next time that happens, if there's 4 of you and somebody grabs and runs and somebody pushes the clerk and you're one of the other 2, don't run.
Right. Moral to the story is don't run. Unfortunately, that bond is too high. In Harris County, the one that did the pushing, if it was their first offense, it would be called robbery, and then it would be a second-degree felony, and the bond would be $20,000. Under the law,
it turned out to be robbery, definitely.
Robbery and not aggravated because there's no gun, but because of the physical force, it's second-degree robbery.
Yeah.
When if there was no physical force at all, it would be Class A or B theft, misdemeanor theft without lifting.
In Harris County.
In Harris County, or in Texas, period. That's Texas law. So the pushing is what caused it to be jacked up as a felony. But Harris County is a little better than Brazoria because generally they're not going to charge the ones who didn't do the pushing with the robbery, just the pusher, and the other ones they just charge with shoplifting under the law of parties, which means that we can all be criminally responsible for the conduct of another because it was all our joint intent and we played different roles. There is a defense, though, that I was merely present, because if I'm with the 2 of them and they commit a crime and I just stand there, I have no duty as a citizen to thwart the crime or stop the crime. I can just stand there. They have to prove that I did something in furtherance of that crime. And so if nobody else stole anything, the other 2 actually have a good defense of being innocent. And if you go to trial, there's actually a jury charge that says if you believe that this person standing with the other 2 was merely present and did not make any attempts to aid or abet the other actor, you must find that person not guilty. And this is why you have to have an experienced lawyer, because not only do we know how to investigate, we know what the jury charge
Sure.
has to say for the jury to decide
There
on.
again, that's trying cases. The only way you know that is because
I've tried
you've
over
tried
100 trials.
cases
Hundreds,
as a
hundreds.
prosecutor. That's where you get your experience. Now you've changed from the evil empire to the force for the good.
Right. But anyway, Gwen, I hope that they can find a good lawyer. Are the kids still in jail?
Yes.
On bond? Okay, well, we need to do something about that.
Yes, the child is definitely still in jail, and I think that they haven't indicted her yet, because
Okay.
I understand that is a process.
Right, and she has to be indicted within 90 days, or they have to give her a personal recognizant bond from the date of the arrest. So keep count. That's Texas law. So if it's our constitutional law. So if they're not indicted within 90 days of the date of the arrest, they have to give them a personal recognizance bond, or reduce it to something the family can make, like a $1,000 bond or something. Okay, so make sure they keep count of that.
What is a
Okay, and I guess my other question was to the activists, because I thought I came in late, and I thought you said something to the effect of you don't want to get them out on bond.
Well, no, getting them out of bond is important. In Harris County, except in the most aggravated of cases, we have pretrial services. I have a lot of people going out there and spend a lot of money to talk to bondsmen and get people out of bond. It may not have applied to your son's case because of the aggravation element. It would depend on the judge and a lot of other things. But most people with an address, a place to live, a telephone, a job, you can get out of jail through Harris County Pretrial Services. We've spent years developing that so that people would not use up the resources they need to hire qualified lawyers. I didn't say don't get them out of jail. Don't be in a hurry to get them out of the jail. A couple of days waiting will save you an awful lot of money frequently.
Right, so he's an advocate of letting people out. You just got in on the end. He was just talking about some of the pros and cons, because one of the things we didn't get to, Gwen, and are you through so we can just keep talking?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for calling, and we'll keep this conversation going. Thank you for generating this type of conversation about bonds. One of the things you need to know in getting a bondsman is Harris County judges can put certain conditions on bonds.
Sure.
One of them, and bondsmen don't tell you this, is weekly urinalysis.
Yeah, right.
The Constitution allows that, the state law allows that, and the lawyer can do nothing about that. That's between the bondsman and the judge. It's nothing I can do about that. And so if you know your child smokes weed, then it's not a good idea to get him out of jail.
No.
Okay? No, but it's not a question you knew to ask, because you're thinking, you didn't even think he was robbing people either. No. So I'm just saying, though, but it's a question that a bondsman's not going to tell you, because they're there to make money. But a good lawyer is going to tell you, like, if you'd hired me or even just called me, I would have given you this advice. Now, don't get him out until you decide who the lawyer is. Make sure you have enough money for a bond. I mean, a lawyer and a bond.
Because the bond can frequently be reduced with the help of a lawyer.
Right, with the help of a lawyer. And make sure that he gets that dope out of his system. Because if I'm not mistaken, Debbie Mantooth Stricklin, even if they test positive on the first one, they're revoking their bonds. There are some judges that don't. They'll give them 30 days to clean out. But there are others that the first time they pee, because they feel like they should have never been smoking dope because it's illegal. And so she was one that would revoke a bond.
On the first
and so what the viewers don't know is that, because it's a long story having to do with Ed Iglehart, is that his mom bonded him out. He went out, he got a job, he was trying to do right. He smoked weed with some friends again. He went to court. He was randomly tested by the judge. He got his bond revoked. And he got a $60,000 bond this time. His mother paid for a $60,000 bond. That's $6,000. She's already paid $3,000 for one bond, which was a $30,000 bond. Now, not realizing her son can't smoke weed, not thinking he smokes weed, he smokes weed again. She makes a $60,000 bond. While out with friends, he gets shot in the head and almost gets killed. All of those things she thinks are mitigating factors in his punishment, because now he's had a revelation. You know, if you've been shot and it was just a random shooting, it wasn't like he was doing anything wrong, and the other backseat passenger got killed in another, just a boy fight behind some stupid stuff, he gets murdered. And so
Well, all of this plays in together. All of this makes a very elaborate puzzle that the courts are having to wrestle with, the prosecutors are having to wrestle with, and you really need that strong advocate to sort this stuff out just on a personal level.
Certainly.
Yeah, and you need listen, it may be more important who is your lawyer than who you pick for a wife. I hate to tell you that, but let me tell you, because you need an advocate with whom you can work, you need an advocate with whom you've developed a trust relationship with. I got to finish an earlier sentence. Our addiction to time, that might be all right if it worked, but it don't work.
Right.
I talk to convicts all the time. I'm going to prisons all the time with recovery stuff to talk to people about their addictions, and I go in and work with veterans incarcerated, and and the people are not getting better in that environment.
And let's talk about another thing, Ray. Because you go into the prisons, you say that sometimes the guards are just as much gangster as the gangsters in jail. Let's talk about it in your words.
Well, and the thing about it is they're the same people.
They're the same people.
They're the same people.
He says that so eloquently. I said gangster, forgive me.
Yeah, they're the same
people.
people. I mean, I got a bunch of relatives, but the famous Billy Max Moore, who was killed by Eroy Brown. That book just came out, The Trials of Eroy Brown. If you get a chance, read it.
And I'm going to have them on. I'm going to have the famous Craig Washington, Eroy Brown, Bill Hayburn. We're working on having a show with Eroy Brown on there.
Well, Eroy killed Billy Max Moore, and Hayburn called me and said, I got the job of representing Eroy Brown, and I thought...
He busted out of prison. He killed a bunch of prison guards.
No, he killed the warden and my cousin, Billy Max Moore.
God forgive me.
And I worked for the defense in this case because I knew Billy Max Moore better than they did.
Wow.
And I believe Billy Max Moore was trying to kill Eroy Brown.
Wow.
And Eroy Brown acted in self-defense. We convinced 35 out of 36 jurors in 3 trials that Eroy was innocent. Billy Max told me months before he got killed, he said, "Ryan Wayne, you did your time and you out. You're a free man. I'll never get out of here because I'm addicted to that paycheck. My wife's got to live standard living that a prison major can make." But
wow.
Same people. Same people.
Same people. We're getting close to wrapping it up, so let's talk about let's change.
We didn't mean to leave you out of this.
No, it's very informative.
No, he's great. We're going to have a show just with him, but I think he's a great co-host because he knows so much more about the prison. I try to keep people from going to prison, so I know more about the
I'll
before
take over.
prison.
When you get through with them, I'll take over.
So he knows more
and
about
help
that.
them and their mamas through the next experience, and I'm there for you.
Isn't that a beautiful
thing? I am there. The prison show's been on the air for 30 years. Today, I talked to a father in Denton County. I talked to 2 mothers in Harris County.
Can I take this call right quick?
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry. Please, caller, you're on.
Hello?
Hello. We have you here. Come on and talk to us.
Okay. This was a rare case, first time aggravated robbery, and it turned out in the guy's favor. He got a deferred adjudication, plus he went to court Thursday. He's in the county jail now, and they gave him 6 months. When he got out the county, he go to boot camp for 6 months, and the gun he used wasn't functional.
Right.
That's what helped him.
What court was it in?
He had been going to 262, but I guess it was the same court where he had gone.
Right. You stay in the same court unless there's a reason for the judge to be recused. If the gun wasn't operative, that is a factor. The complaining witness must have signed off on it and said it was okay, because it doesn't matter if a gun works or not in terms of aggravated robbery, as long as the victim is in fear of their life, if it makes them in fear. So it could be a toy gun, really, but it does play a factor in the defendant's mind because it shows that there's no intent to kill when you know you can't kill nobody with a toy gun or a gun that's not operative. So he was given a second chance, but people need to know it's very rare that you get a second chance and get probation. But if you do, you're going to be locked up for a year, though. Let's think about what you're saying. He's been in jail probably 6 months before he got the deferred adjudication. He's going to be in.
He wasn't in that long.
Okay, well, he's going to be in jail 6 months until they open up the next boot
camp.
Listen, let me tell you, the boot camp class, because there's so many young offenders, 18 to 25. No, sir, it's not. There's so many young offenders, 18 to 25, that boot camp case stays crowded. So it's a class going on now. So everybody gets in line, and they have to go to the next boot camp class. The last time I checked, it was in Atascocita, and it's called YMAC, Young Men,
Male Offender.
Male Offender Program. And so that's what it's called now. It repackages itself every 5 or 6 years, and they say, oh, well, you know, then the guards start acting bad or they're doing illegal things. They have to shut that down and create another program. So right now, he's going to have to wait until then. But most people, when they get deferred adjudication, they want to get out. So these kids are still not expecting that they're going to be locked up for a whole year and then still get out and have to finish that 10 years of deferred adjudication and walk a very strong tightrope. But he was given a second chance, and people are starting to do that and take chances on kids right now. So
in other words, when he gets to the boot camp and do the 6 months, after the 6 months, will he still be on paper? Or
for 10 years. He's going to be on
probation. He's going to be on paper for 10 years. Yeah.
He's going to have to report monthly. He's going to have to do probably 300 hours of community service. If he didn't graduate from high school, they're going to require a GED, require job training,
He graduated from high school this year.
Okay, well then that's a plus. But they're going to put all of these conditions on him.
There's 8.5 by 14 single space list of conditions of probation in Harris County, and you don't frequently know that until you get out of the courtroom and go to the probation officer.
So when he gets out, make sure y'all take a whole bunch of copies of what they're giving him, because if he violates one rule one time, he can go to prison, and he can go to prison for life. And,
yeah, they can give many things.
After he does the 6 months.
After he gets released, he'll have paperwork. After he does the 6 months in boot camp, he'll be released on 10 years deferred adjudication.
So deferred adjudication is probation? Because
yes,
I really didn't know.
There's two type of probations. One is a conviction probation. Listen to this.
I tried to spell it, and I couldn't find it in the dictionary.
What, probation?
No, deferred adjudication.
Because it's a legal term. You're not going to find it in the dictionary. Deferred means what? Something that's postponed. Okay? So deferred adjudication, that means I'm deferring or postponing the adjudication of your guilt. I'm not adjudging you guilty. You can say I've never been convicted because you haven't been adjudged. It's a legal fiction to allow people to say they've never been convicted. It was important 20 years ago when there weren't computers everywhere, but now that computers are everywhere and companies have started up that just gather information and put it in the computer, viewers of that information don't know what deferred adjudication means. And then but technically it means that you can actually say you've never been convicted. But try saying that to a human resources person that's 19 years old that doesn't know legal terms. They're going to still think that they are a convicted felon. But it's legally you can say that. And listen to this.
Somebody that was there with him, and they said that after he gets out, all is supposed to be off his record.
That's a lie, and that's why I'm having the show, sir. That person, whenever this ends, and he can't find a job or people use this against him, they'll be calling my office. That's why I have this show, because it's not true.
I know somebody in the past where they said that, and I know that's not true. That's just a bunch of flap.
It is, and that's what I'm telling you. That's why I do this show, because it's not true. It will always be on his criminal record. It's just a matter of who's looking at it and if they know how to interpret what it is. But the bottom line is, if a person has to pick between a person who has nothing that comes up and something that comes up, they're usually going to pick the one that has nothing that comes up. So hopefully when he finishes it, someone can introduce him to a job, or there's some job programs there for people like him. But God bless him and be supportive of him, because he has a long road to hoe. And understand that if he violates it, he's facing 5 to 99 years in prison.
You know, I always catch your show in the middle of the end, and I never catch your show at the beginning.
6:30.
6:30. And if you want to look it up and Google the law and read about it, deferred adjudication is in the Code of Criminal Procedure, Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 42.12, Section 5. 42.12, Section 5, that talks about deferred adjudication. Thank you for calling. We have 5 minutes. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you. Call me next week. All right, we have 5 minutes. So tell us, I'm going to give everybody a few moments to wrap up, and I'll start with you, Chandra. Tell us the moral to the story, and what would you want other mothers to know about this awful situation you've caught yourself in?
If I can talk to other parents, and if there are some parents that's listening and maybe going through a similar situation, I just say, before you hire an attorney, research. And the more trials, right?
Trials. That's what
The
you're looking
more
for.
trials, the better that attorney, because they've been on the other side, they know what to expect, they know how to trial case. Don't just go get an attorney. If I had the opportunity to do it all over again, first and foremost, I wouldn't have gotten him out on that second bond, and I would have gotten an attorney that I totally researched, and I did some research after the first bad experience. That's how I came about Vivian King.
And I was honest with you then.
Very.
I said,
She was straight up. But
I said she wanted to do a motion for new trial to reconsider. I said, I will take your money, Chandra, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Yep.
She
I
said
said, I said, it's like asking a parent. The judge gave him the time, and you're asking her to now reconsider it and let you start over again. She's not going to do it.
Not
But
that
I was,
judge.
I said, not that judge, and I said, I don't want to take your money. But Chandra loved her son, and she said, I can't live.
I gotta take a chance.
Unless I take this chance. Thank you for being honest with me.
and I did.
And I'm an honest lawyer.
And my husband,
Her husband was
the
like,
dad
her
was like,
ex-husband, his
he
dad
was like,
said,
no,
oh, no,
no.
we ain't spending that money. So she had to pay me by herself.
And I did it.
And I told her the truth. And that's walking money out of my door. But I told her the truth. And
She
that's why
did.
she's always, I think, liked me. And I
That's
think that
right. I
was in 2008.
referred several cases since then.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's referred several
I
people.
just
Because I was
think
honest with her. I said, I'll take your money, Chandra, but this is not going to work.
I don't
but I'll
see it
do for
happening.
you.
Yeah. And then after it was denied or whatever, we went into the little back room. She says, do you think I did enough for you? I was like, no, I feel that you did enough. But it just happened so fast. But she was serious. She told me what to expect up front. And I appreciate that because my other attorney totally lied
And I told her
to me.
lawyer was going to lie, too. I said, he's never going to get on the stand and admit he promised you probation.
That's right.
That's illegal to do that. He's not. Why would he admit that? That would get him in trouble with the bar. Because
Yeah.
it's not true.
Well, he can be in trouble times too. I mean, I'm just, but
Well, you have to prove it. And it's still word against his.
In closing, guys, please research. Know your attorney before you put your money in that hand. And if they come out on a bond the first time, they go back in, no. But 18 years, I feel is too harsh for my son. Too harsh for anybody's son to serve that type of sentencing.
1 minute. Let's let Ray say something.
Thank you.
Well, I know a lot about lawyers. I get arrested every once in a while.
He got arrested lately.
I got arrested lately, and I you know,
He did.
and I know who are the good lawyers, and I can probably get them cheaper than anybody else simply because my cases are interesting, and there's going to be a lot of publicity because I don't get arrested for free. As a matter of fact, but let me tell you, I've got a real heart for all these mothers and these fathers and these sisters and these wives, because it was Frankie Hill. You visited me every 2 weeks. It's as frequent as she could visit when I was in prison. She's my mom. I don't care how slick the tires were on that beat-up old Buick. She was there. And she never stopped saying my son in all capital letters. And after I got out, I got to return the favor and take care of her manually for the last 5 or 6 years of her life.
30 seconds.
And live your life like it has a purpose. And fellers, if you've got addictions, work on those now. It's a lot better than going to an AA meeting in a prison.
And I would just like to thank all of my viewers for watching this show. I hope I was informative. I hope you learned something from the experience of Chandra, Iglehart Willis, and the prison experience and activism of Ray Hill. You know I want to tell your story. Please call me at my office, 713-222-2019. Look at the credits that roll. Call me, leave a message with my secretary. I spent about 6 hours in court, but I will return your call, and I do want to tell your story. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. to the show.